So we are continuing on with the teapot. Big bowl. When I was storing this last night, I was afraid my teapot form would get too dried out. So I did a couple of things. One thing I did was after I cut out the lid, I put this little piece of plastic wrap underneath it so that I could drop it in and pull it out very easily instead of sticking my fingers in there and messing up the edges. Another thing I did was, not on a wooden table, actually on my stove top or on any non-porous surface, I put a wet sponge. I just filled this little sponge full of water and set a bowl on top of it. That's essentially how you make a damp cabinet. It'll retain the moisture and keep it as it is. For the most part, it's not going to put more moisture back in it, but it'll slow down the drying process. I did that to both my handle. I had that in a bowl damp cabinet, and I also did that to the spout. At this point, I'm going to keep the spout wrapped up. That needs a little bit more work. The handle I can show you how to put on quickly. That won't take a lot of time. That already has some texture on it. It has some octopus tentacles, the little suckers put onto it. I could take more time and really get in there. I think I will do that, but I'm going to wait until later because right now it's the perfect amount of leather hard, and this is the same amount of dryness as my teapot itself. So I'm going to simply leave this plastic wrap on to make the lid come off easier, and then I have to think about where do I want to put this. Well, I could put it on this side. That's the more narrow side. In my brain, I didn't want the top of the teapot to come up much further, the handle to come up a lot further than the base. So I think right about here will be good. And since I let it sit and dry in this position, it's still nice and strong. I can smooth a little bit more if I get a few cracks. If you make it bend when it is already leather hard, the clay will be angry and break. But if you set it up in the position you want it ahead of time, it's already there, and for the most part, I think we'll be good. Okay, so I want this here, and I'm going to take a tool and mark off where the edges happen, and then I can take a look at it. And at this point I have to look and see if it's straight because I don't want a crooked handle. So I'll just do a little adjusting. Okay. So I have teapot, and I'm going to go up and down with my scoring. Any sharp tool will do. This is really, really a nice consistency right now. I'm going to go kind of deep. And if the surface gets messed up, don't worry about it. You can go back in and fix it. You can smooth it out. Do a little more than necessary. People often will just score a little tiny bit on the inside. That won't cut it. That is not going to keep your handle on. So a little extra. Yes, it might be messy. You might have some extra marks around the outside, but it's better to do extra than not enough. And now I have really beautiful slip. The slip wasn't that fabulous the other day, and I added extra water, and then I have all these dried up hunks of clay, and if you just break them apart and put them in there, add a little water and stir it every once in a while, This powdery, dry clay dissolves very, very quickly. So I'm gonna move that over because I don't want that right now. Okay, I will take my clay and put it on both sides here, my slip. So I've got the slip on, and then I like to just go back over and make sure the slip gets into all the grooves with a nice sharp tool. And then my handle, I can just pick up a little slip from there to know exactly where that's going to go. And look at that, I have a little sticky impression of where to put my lines. Lots of scoring. And then I put it on there. Right now this handle's a little too high, but I did enough scoring that I can move it down without much problem. Okay. If you want the teapot to be functional, this is really important. Right now, my handle and the body of my teapot are the same amount of dryness. It doesn't make a huge deal. Like, it can't be too dry that it's starting to get powdery. And it can't be so wet that it falls in on itself. But in the middle is your leather hard stage. I'm going to wipe off extra slip because I always want to get rid of the extra stuff around the outside. It's like a peanut butter sandwich that oozes out extra slip. I want to get rid of that. That will do more harm than good. Okay. And then I need a tool. Let's see, what do I have? I don't have a lot around for wooden tools. I guess I'll just use this little poker and a popsicle stick. I'm going to hold it down and I'm going to squish it, get the extra slip out of there. That's bad news. We don't want it to be wet around the seam. Only wet in between the two pieces. And then go ahead and push the clay and I'm actually pushing the clay from one side to another side. I'm not being super gentle with it. I want it to move. So let's see. It's hard for me to do this without looking, but it's better for you guys to see it than for me to. I'm pushing this down. And then on the other side, I do the same thing and really smush this into the body of the teapot. Sometimes people have a hard time being this rough, but at the leather hard stage, you want to really get it attached well. And then you smooth it out. Use a dry, clean finger. Don't put any more slip on it. You put more slip on it, at this point, it will simply weaken the spots that are attached. I have to do the same thing to the bottom. Push it down. Push it down underneath. Push it down on the back side. Underneath here. Ooh, gotta get that wet slip off. Really move that clay. I will do all of that and join you again for the next video.